A House of Dynamite, the new Netflix original that is dropping October 24th. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button to never miss a video. We have daily film content, including movie reviews, movie news, and so much more. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button to never miss a video. I had the opportunity to see A House of Dynamite earlier on this week at the Alamo Drafthouse, and I have to say I absolutely love this movie. And I feel like it started off great, and there was a time when I was during this film where I was just like, I just wasn't feeling it. Like, it started off so strong. Because to start with, this film is pretty much about a nuclear warhead that goes off and it's headed towards a United States city. They don't know where it originated from. All they know that's coming, and it's about the entire film is about them trying to stop it before it detonates. And I don't know a lot about military background or anything of that nature, but I do know a little bit about it. So pretty much is a very realistic based film. It's pretty much we have a different defense mechanism that shoots out the missiles out of the air before they actually hit the designated target to detonate. So the film is pretty much based upon that whole aspect. And it is from director Kathryn Bigelow, who, if you don't know or are familiar with her work, she did films like The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30, along with films like Detroit. Now, Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30 were two incredible war films that both won her. Hurt Locker won an Oscar. I think Zero Dark 30 got nominated. I don't believe she won anything for Zero Dark 30. But again, Oscar nominated for that as well. Detroit was a film that was based on a true story. Again, that was a film that was generating Oscar buzz and then kind of fizzled out. Her new film, House of Dynamite, it's a Netflix film, but Netflix did put the money up and got it in theaters for 2 weeks in select cities to be eligible for the Oscars, along with Frankenstein, which I have not seen, but going to see that next week, I think. So I'm going to have a chance to see that one a few weeks before it releases on Netflix. Super stoked for that. But with this film, again, I feel like this film was something they're trying to push for an Oscar. For Oscar season, and I think they might just have something. Again, this film is the way this film was told kind of frustrated me because I didn't know much about it or anything about it really going in, other than it was a film about like a nuclear warhead, and they were trying to figure out where it came from, who launched it, and how to stop it. And it was directed by Kathryn Bigelow. That's pretty much all I knew going into this film, and that was all I needed to know. Like I said, Kathryn Bigelow did 0-30, Hurt Locker, won an Oscar for Hurt Locker. She definitely is very familiar. This is definitely her area of expertise, we'll say, and she definitely kind of goes in great with war films. Now, this film technically isn't a war film. It's categorized as a thriller, dramatic thriller, political thriller. I still say it's a war film because it definitely has that next level aspect of the next war is going to be nuclear warfare. That nuclear warfare is very much something that could happen. So this is kind of, in my opinion, a war film. It's definitely a different take on war, and it kind of shows a different insight of everything that would happen. Now, this film definitely isn't what you would think it would be, because it's not really a spoiler, but the film is pretty much kind of like Groundhog Day and Source Code in the sense that you have one event that it doesn't take place multiple times. There's one event that's you see the one event, but the way in which she kind of crafts this film is that it's one event that is essentially a 15-minute event, a little longer because your intro and everything like that. So your first 25 minutes of this movie is one solid, like from start to finish. But as we reach the conclusion, the film then pivots, and we hear in their conference call, and you have everything going on, but we see this same event in real time through different people's eyes. So it kind of tells us one short story pretty much from the event of 8 different people, all who are directly involved in this scenario or this issue. Because again, when something like this happens, you have the president, you have the person of you have like 8 different people who are then advising him. So you have all these people who are like, they call it like anytime anything like this happens, you have like the different chains of command who then put their input and recommendations, stuff like that, who all have kind of address the issue. I'm not huge into government structure, so I'm not really sure exactly what it's called. I don't remember what they said in the film what the different titles were. But you have like the the president, the military defense, or the head of military defense, and all the various different people who all kind of sit at the round table. And you kind of get to see this event through all their eyes. Now, it works so well at this film, which kind of irritated me a little bit while watching the film, but during my ride home, it really kind of let it wash over me. I just absolutely love this movie by the end, is that we get to see the same events take place through all these different people's eyes. Now, it's not the exact same, it's the same events at its core, but you see the different reactions and the different personalities and how it affects them personally. And it really kind of strives on each character and how this event affects them and their decision-making in the event. As much as this film is a psychological thriller and a war film, it's a character film as well. And you kind of get this insight to all of these different characters and how this one event affects them, both psychologically and in their personal lives and how they're going to react. And it kind of gives you such a unique perspective on things. And I feel like it's so much. And originally I was very irritated by how the film kind of took place and the way or the direction in which Catherine Bigelow took by, showing us this same event happening in real time through all these different people's eyes. Because at first I was like, hey, this feels like a short film that they tried to stretch out into a feature and just kind of had its moments of lag and there's just dull moments in the transition. And I definitely felt it while watching it, but looking back, like after the theater, after seeing the ending and just being shocked completely by how it ended, I just kind of, on the drive home, was thinking about this film and just letting it wash over me. And again, it just felt like the more I thought about it, the more I liked this film. And it's because of just how well crafted the story is. And it's so much more than just a thriller. It's such a character piece. And you get not only to have this insight to these various different people going through the same event, and you kind of see how it not only affects them in their personal lives, but how it would affect everybody with this domino effect. And so beyond being just a great thriller and just having this really great script along with these really intense moments, we have some of the best performances I've seen this year. Rebecca Ferguson, hands down, she deserves an Oscar nom for this performance without question. Now, I remember seeing an interview with her on why she kind of opted out of doing Mission Impossible 7 and 8, like how she wanted to get out of the franchise. And she said it was because, she didn't have time to do other projects. It took up such a huge part of her time. Like, she was committed, like she couldn't do anything for 8 months. And she was only really going to be in the movie for maybe 15 minutes. And she only had, 2 weeks worth of shooting, but she had to commit 8 months of her life to this 2 weeks of shooting, and she couldn't do other films. So I was really bummed when I found out she wasn't in the later sequel, or how she was killed off in the first Dead Reckoning, and she wasn't going to return, and the fact that she wouldn't be killed off. But after seeing this film, I am so glad that she made that decision, because her performance in this is, without question, just one of her best performances I've ever seen by her. And I think that's part of the reason why I was so perturbed when, after the initial 15 minutes of the bomb, I was perturbed that it cut to another section, because that meant we were no longer going to see her on screen, because she just did such a fantastic job in this film, and her performance really set up that first section of the film and just carried it. And all the performances are great, but I mean, hers definitely in that first 15 minutes was just phenomenal. And I think that's part of why I was kind of let down, because then it went on to these other characters, and you got to kind of see these events through other characters. And I feel like they all had amazing performances, but I think her performance, in my opinion, definitely stood out in this film, and it's one of the best performances in the film. But even with that being said, everybody in this film, really brought their A game, and you have these great performances from a slew of great actors and actresses, and it really just makes this film worth watching at least once. I cannot wait for this to drop on Netflix. I'm going to watch again when it does drop. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to chance to go see it in a theater again before Friday when it drops. However, I'm going to give this film a Ferris Bueller, because yes, it's dropping on Netflix, so you don't necessarily need to call out of work to go to the theater. However, taking the day off to watch this when it drops on Friday would be acceptable. Rushing home after work, picking up a pizza on the way home to watch this movie would be not only acceptable, but highly recommended. This is a movie I think that is so well done that it definitely deserves some Oscar nominations and some Oscar praise. But it being a Netflix film, and then I haven't heard much on the road to the Oscars and much Oscar bait for this film, but it definitely, I think, deserves some. Especially Rebecca Ferguson's performance. If she doesn't win an Oscar for this, or nominated for an Oscar, I think a Golden Globe or an Emmy definitely would be within reach at the very least. Because again, like I said, she has a phenomenal performance. But again, we have a lot of great cast in this film. Definitely want to check out though. It's dropping Friday on Netflix. Love to hear your thoughts when you do see it or decide to watch it. Drop a comment below. Let me know what were your thoughts and how'd you like it.